The Novelist as Teacher by Chinua Achebe. It cannot be assumed that the type of writing I do can be enjoyed by a European audience. You see, in Europe, the writer, like your artists, they grow a long beard, they live on the fringe of society, they dress in peculiar ways, they act erratic. No society in their right mind would put a writer in charge of a thing. But the same cannot be said for the writer in Africa. In Africa, our writers are storytellers, they are educators, they are consulted on all important matters. It's often said that the African audience are only interested in textbooks. It's not true. Take the recent sales of my novel, Things Fall Apart. I sold 800 copies here in the UK, 20,000 in Nigeria, and 2,500 elsewhere. Do you need any more evidence? Recently, I heard from a Ghanaian man that took me to task because in my previous novel, No Longer at Ease, he said that I left too many questions at the end of the novel. He's what we call, in Nigerian pidgin, a how-for-do, or, in your part of the world, a know-it-all. Not all comments are so irritating. Recently, I received a letter from a young Ghanaian school teacher. It touched me. She took me to task because in my previous novel, No Longer at Ease, I did not allow the hero to marry the woman he was in love with. She told me there are many women in West Africa, and she is right, many women in that position who do not get to marry the person they are in love with. And she told me I missed an opportunity to challenge Nigerian customs, and I agree. But no writer in their right mind would take advice from their readers. But I respect teachers, I really do. My wife is a teacher, so I must. Recently, I was visiting her high school. There was a young pupil. He's my favorite because he wants to be a writer. And he's reading me one of his poems. It's about the Nigerian seasons throughout the year. And he talks of Nigerian winter in this poem. Nigeria, winter. Winter, Nigeria. I said, what's this Nigerian winter you talk of? He tells me he was talking of the Harmattan winds, the winds which blow across the Sahara, across West Africa, covering our villages and communities in sand and dust for a few weeks every year. I said, why did you not tell us of the Harmattan winds in your poem? He said it's because it's not poetic. This is the task of an African writer, to make the Harmattan winds just as suitable for poetry as winter. It's to make the African palm tree just as poetic as the English oak. Just recently, whilst I was on my visit here, I was listening to a song on the radio. It went, I ain't going to wash for a week. And I thought, at first I thought, this young man, how privileged to take a wash once a week. And then I thought again. I realized that it was not my people that put hygiene next to godliness. That was the idea of the colonial administration in Nigeria. And so, he is rebelling against the same people that we African writers must also rebel against. And now I quite like that song. But I digress. The young schoolboy, he was taught from a young age of African inferiority. I too was taught that when we had guests come from Europe and come to Nigeria, we would perform for them a dance that you will all know well, the Maypole dance. So imagine that. You have come, a very important person, traveling all the way from Europe to Nigeria, and then you arrive and people do the Maypole dance for you, a dance you know well because in your part of the world you're doing it all the time. Of course you're not. I know you're not. Why is it that your customs are better preserved in Nigeria than they are here? And do you think that we do not have enough dances to welcome people in Nigeria? Jokes aside, the role of the African writer is not just a political act. It means more than just making cultural references in our novels, and it certainly is more than being just an African man who writes. To be an African writer is perhaps best described by Nelson Mandela. His quote is on the front cover of my novel. And he is referring to me when he said, "The writer in whose company the prison walls fell down." What other evidence do you need to know that I am an African writer than to hear that Nelson Mandela was reading my novel in apartheid prison? You see, to be an African writer is to be a teacher. And the thing we must teach is the liberation. Therefore, it is not just a political act, but a spiritual one too. Thank you.